Welcome back to the newest episode of the Beyond the Whistle podcast. This week, we are so pleased to welcome the Ferris State head coach, Tony Annese, who is now in his 13th season with the Bulldogs. He's led Ferris State to the national championship in 3 of the past 4 seasons, with their most recent title coming last year against Valdosta State. They are on an 18-game win streak, with their most recent win coming recently against Rio Grande. Coach, how are you doing? How ready are you for this bye week, and how's the season been so far?
I'm doing great. Ready for the bye week. People always say, "Oh, that's an early bye week." Well, they don't take into consideration you're here for, your 3-4 weeks before the season, the first game kicks off. So, to me, it's a perfect time. We get a bye week, and then we start GLIAC play, which is, to me, a perfect time. And as far as the season goes, I told the kids today, the best you can do is 4-0 right now. And last year at this time, we were not 4-0. We were 3-1, and we're obviously able to win a national championship. So we're happy to be where we are, and hopefully, continue to grow and get better this week.
Let's talk about those weeks leading up to the season. Obviously, there's tons of pressure when everyone talks about defending and repeating a national title, but you've got a whole lot of new faces on this team. So how were those developmental weeks and those practices leading up, and what did you like from your team and this new batch of guys?
Yeah, it's huge. It starts, obviously, when you hit the field in the spring and you lose some guys. We lost 5 offensive starters to FBS schools in the portal. Winning the national championship, I'm like, man, we got almost everybody back. And then all of a sudden, the portal, and we lost 8 guys total to FBS schools. And, it's hard, right? And so then you got to kind of regroup, build some confidence for some of the people that are replacement type players. We thought we had a really good group of guys coming back, and we really thought that we had really good players that could, take the spot of some of the guys that left via the portal, and we have, I feel good about where we've kind of grown some spots, at quarterback. Wyatt Bower stepped in and done great. Trinidad Chambliss, we miss him, we still miss him. We love watching him with success with Ole Miss, but super young man, and we miss him more about, just loving him as a person than to, miss him as a football player. But Zach Ahern was ready to step in at running back when Cannon left for West Virginia. Same with, 2 O-linemen that we lost to Big Ten schools. We had Ben Prestula, who played quite a bit last year. He stepped in at a starting spot there. And Dane Arnett might be the best offensive lineman we've had in a long time. And so he played a lot last year, but he stepped up when Bryce George went to Iowa.
Talk to me a little bit about the transfer portal. I'm sure it's something you're tired of talking about, but at the way the world is right now, it's kind of a bittersweet thing for coaches like you that lead, really elite D2 teams. It's great because you can pull people in, but unfortunately, when you're having so much success, your guys are going to get poached a lot. So how has it been kind of navigating that, and how has it been, getting to see those players that you helped love and grow and develop get those opportunities, and how do you kind of just balance the amount of movement that's happening on your roster in this day and age?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to make an evaluation. First off, I wouldn't be lying, and I don't want to lie to you and tell you that I think there's a better place on earth than Ferris State, because I don't think there is. So when a kid says, I want to leave, well, why? This is the greatest place ever. And I always talk about moments in time. And so, hoisting a trophy, well, I've already won 3 national championships. Well, so have I, but I can't wait for the next season, So that was my attitude going in. And, truthfully, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be, worth my, my value, thinking that there's a better place than Ferris State. And people are like, come on, man. You got a quarterback starting at Ole Miss. Why do you think Ferris State's better? Because it's a moment in time, and And, I always just say this about moments in time. If you're married, maybe your marriage is a moment in time. If you got children, which I have 4 of them, those 4 bursts were moments in time. After that, I'm like, oh, maybe the national championships are right there in there, And so I think there's great value in that. And so, I sell our program. I believe in our program. The other part of it is, are you going to play? And I know a lot of people have made these points, but so far, Lento is starting. He's the safety that played for us last year. He's starting at Tulsa. Cephas starting at linebacker at Western Michigan. And Trinidad starting at Ole Miss right now currently. Other than that, the others aren't experiencing, great opportunities. Maybe they had an injury. I don't know. But, a lot of them aren't playing at the level that they had played here. We've had great success with NFL players. Zach Sealer was the MVP for the Dolphins last year, the most valuable player for the Miami Dolphins. And he grinded it out and stayed here and kept on growing. And, so my thing is, are you better off to take the chance, go to a FBS school and maybe not play enough so that then you don't get NFL attention, or staying here playing a lot, feature your skill set, and then maybe land in the NFL like Zach Sealer did, or Tavir Thomas did, or Caleb Murphy did. All 3 of those guys, I watched play this past weekend, and so, it's a tough call. But at the end of the day, I have to be, I'm Ferris State's head football coach, so I got to advocate for Ferris State and tell the young men that this is the greatest place on earth. But I also have to understand that, there's a certain level of, maybe financial support that they may get in NIL agreements that would cause them to have to leave. And as long as they handle it in a mature way, the way Trinidad Chambliss handled it, I can live with it. We worked very hard. Trinidad was like the greatest human being on earth communicating with me. His family communicated with me. It was just, they did it the right way. And so I'm happy for him, and really we support the heck out of him.
Well, I've been in Big Rapids, so I can say it's a pretty great place to hang out. But excited to see your guys, get the opportunities that they're looking for. But reloading this Ferris State team has not been too big of a challenge for you, for what we can see so far. You talked about it a little bit earlier, but getting that first win of the season against Pittsburgh State, this is kind of a rivalry that you all are building of these 2 red and gold teams. How much momentum did starting that season with a win this year against them do for that team? And how much confidence did it build in the guys in this new batch?
Yeah, first off, just kind of getting my mind back to getting ready for Pitt State. I told the team I was more nervous for that game than the Valdosta State National Championship game. Just because I know what Pitt's capable of, And so I was really happy the way Wyatt played as a redshirt freshman. And I thought that we blocked really well. Our defense was really good stopping the run. We gave up some, a couple mental errors that gave them, some big plays, which it's going to happen, but we're still bothered by that. But I was really pleased that we could beat a powerhouse program like that. They put it to us a year ago in the first game, and that was our last loss in a while. So we were ready. We played well, and we were proud. We were proud to play as well as we did. But also, just kind of mention Coach Anthony and his people that he brought from Pitt, Kansas. They're a great program, and we're happy to. Well, happy is kind of a weird word, but we're proud that we get to battle with such a great program, and for 2 more years. And it probably keeps you kind of awake at night, but I think that's why you become a coach, to get opportunities to play in games like that.
As a fan of D2 football, we're really excited for this continued championship rematch, basically almost in the beginning of the season, having 2 such great teams. So we're looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a fun one to continue to watch. Let's talk about this new QB. There is no surprise that you and your staff know how to find the right guy and develop him into an absolute weapon. Last year there was kind of an interesting quarterback situation with Golker starting, then getting hurt, and Trinidad coming in. I think we all were kind of expecting Carson Golker to start as the QB this year. So talk to me about Wyatt and how you found him and how you knew he was the man for the job this season.
Yeah, good question. So, first off, he's from my hometown, which is really odd because my hometown is Corunna, Michigan, and the field is named after my dad there in Corunna. It's called Annese Field, and so Wyatt and his twin brother Tarek played at the Nick. I knew them from the point when they were I did football camps for Corunna a little bit. So I probably met them when they were maybe in 4th or 5th grade. I got pictures of them standing next to me, and they're, little miniature guys. And so it's cool. So we knew of them. We loved their skill set. Those two led their team, along with Jaden Eddington, who also plays for me, led their team to the state championship game. It was the first time Corunna was in the state championship game in their existence. So we knew of them. They led their team their junior years to the state track meet. Both of them can fly. Jokingly, I said to somebody this morning, I said, man, if I told Lane Kiffin that Trinidad Chambliss was our 3rd fastest quarterback, he wouldn't believe me. But it's true. Chase Carter is like a 10 400 meter guy, and Wyatt can fly too, and Trinidad can fly, but he can't run at their pace. So we knew he could run, and that's a really big part of our offense. We need to have, a great design quarterback run system, and we have for forever here. And you got to be tough. You got to be able to make all the reads. You got to be able to throw the ball, and he can do it all. And so, very proud of him. He's, he's sitting in the top 5 in rushing yards in the GLIAC, and he's thrown the ball very efficiently. I think he's number 2 in our conference in passing efficiency. And so all of it's good. He's been really great at taking care of the ball, which is just an unbelievable thing. So that's really important. But little correction, everybody says that about Golker, but Golker did not start the first 2 games when he was healthy. Trinidad started them both, but we were splitting them. But Trent started the Pitt game and learned quite a big a lesson of, how to have composure and that kind of stuff, and started the Lake Erie game, the game that Carson got hurt in. But Carson still plays quarterback for us, but Carson literally is a 240-pound guy that we're trying to get him opportunities to be in the NFL. And so he could be one of those guys that, can run around, a big guy who can play tight end in the NFL. So we're trying to service him that way, and he's been great so far.
Yeah, no, it's been really exciting to watch this offense so far this season. And talk to me a little bit more about Bower and just kind of the way he showed up at the start of the season in practice and in those first games, and how you have allowed to put so much trust in him and how the team has trusted him so much to really make those decisions and control what's going on the field and offense and read those plays and decide what's right.
Yeah, so Trinidad was here all spring, and but he was hurt. He had a minor procedure in which it kept him out of spring ball. And so Trin was out there and Carson was out there. Carson had the injury in the fall. And so both of them were out there and watching Wyatt, and they're like, dang, coach, I mean, he's really good. And we knew he was good because he was just, unbelievable as a scout team quarterback a year ago. And so he took most of the reps all spring, and Trinidad and Carson would keep on saying, man, I mean, he's going to be really good. He's going to be really good. And they're both like, man, he's way better than I was when I was his age and stuff like that. So he made his mistakes, obviously, learning the system, but because Trent and Carson were kind of out in the spring. Wyatt took a lot of reps, and it just grew him. It helped to grow him. And so, when Trent got in the portal, I knew then, it would be a good opportunity for all of our guys to battle. But Wyatt really set himself apart, just because, one, he's got great composure, and two, he's got all the skills to operate our system. It's a triple option system. It's an RPO system. It's a design quarterback run system. It's a pass system, and so there's a lot of components to it. You got to be able to execute it all, and he's got the capability to do it all.
So far, 4 wins in the season, really strong wins all around. I would say the first big test came kind of against Tiffin. GMAC and GLIAC always, do a really good job of testing each other early in the season. The Tiffin game was a little closer than I think some people expected. What do you feel like you learned from that game that you are taking into, conference play as you prepare to take on some other really tough teams?
You never want it to happen. You never say, oh my gosh, I want to be in a close game. But, we scored 35 points at halftime. So they were top 10 in the nation last year in total defense. So I'm like, oh my gosh, we got 35 points at halftime. That should be enough, But, you want to stay aggressive and make plays. But they ended up making a lot of plays against us and put a lot of pressure on us. We had a chance to make we got a chance to go up 3 scores, 22 points, and we mishandled a play down in the red zone, and so then we were kicking a field goal to go up at least 18. It got blocked, and they scooped and scored. So instead of being up 18, which is 3 scores, we were up 8. And so we dealt with adversity. We had to drive down, score to go up 2 scores again, which we did do. And then they came back and with less than 2 minutes to go, hit a 65-yard pass. I'm like, oh my gosh, back and forth, right? And we haven't had that many close games. So we had to put our hands team in to field an onside kick. We did it successfully. We drove the field. We got a first down and killed the clock. And so, it was really a great experience for us to be challenged like that. Again, you don't want to orchestrate it, but it's a good opportunity to, just feel that kind of pressure. And we played the game with 0 turnovers, which I was proud of. But, our defense was a little frustrated in that we just had a lot of missed assignments. And when you have missed assignments, there's a little bit more attention to detail. And I think our guys, our coaches and our guys, will work hard to make sure we correct those mistakes and continue to grow.
Yeah, they've looked really solid. Now that you have this bye week and look ahead is all conference play, how does the approach over this next week change now that you're going to be facing GLIAC teams every weekend until the end?
It really doesn't change at all. We're always a program that, first off, bye week wise, we've always grown. I told them that we had the ultimate bye weeks in COVID, because we experienced COVID, went to the practice field, grew, and ended up winning a national championship. And I always got to look up. We went 14-0, and won a national championship, right, during the ultimate of bye week. So, and we've had bye weeks before. We want to grow. We want to get better. And so I feel comfortable that we'll come back being ready for Roosevelt. And then, one of our biggest goals always is to win the GLIAC championship. So it starts with beating Roosevelt. We come back home against Wayne. And, hopefully we're sitting there, with a good start and continually growing. The thing our program has always done is grown and gotten better. Just looking at our national championship scores, I think we beat Valdosta 49-14 and 24 and 22. I think we beat Mines like 41-14. and 21, I think it was like 58-17. So we won in really blowout games. And I always tell our guys, we're always better at the end. But we lift hard in the end season. We want to grow. We want to stay fresh and prevent, having major injuries. So we're all cognizant of that. And we work hard to make sure all those things happen.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the up-and-coming guys on your roster. You find incredible freshmen and turn them into stars very early. Last year, I think Alston Ware caught our attention on defense for being a real quiet guy, but someone who can really make some plays on the field. So who on your roster is somebody that maybe we're not talking about enough that you think is going to continue to line up on the stat sheet a lot in this season?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some D linemen that really haven't played a ton that are really coming along. Marquis Jones has been a super interior defensive line player for us. And we got Dub in there who's been a starter, but Javon Ruffin, who's been around a while, but he's really uplifted his game. Proud of him. At linebacker, we got Nolan Ziegler, who's a transfer who's really made a huge impact. We got some young guys still in the secondary that we like a lot. Alston's been great back there, but we're playing a couple of young guys back there who've done really well. Alex Springs is probably, I think, now on 2 straight games where he started. So he's a good one. On offense, I mentioned Prestula. He's a new starter at guard. And I mentioned Arnett, who's a new starter at left tackle. And then, Wyatt and his brother Tarek have been really great. And Kevel Cooper's a redshirt freshman who's our 3rd leading rusher right now. He's our running back. He's played really well. And then receiver-wise, Tay Boyd has, I think, probably caught 3 touchdown passes. He's really kind of a first-time starter. And we got Cam Underwood back on the other side, who's been a starter for us for a long time. But those are kind of the key guys that have really grown and have really impacted our team in a positive way.
So what you're saying is your whole roster is full of stars, and we should be watching it.
Well, you mentioned young guys, and we are playing some freshmen and redshirt freshmen that have really, really done really nice things for us.
They don't look like freshmen on the field. They've been really fun to watch so far. Last question from me. 7 games ready or left before the playoff. Where do you want this team to be by mid-November?
Well, first off, the playoffs are never guaranteed. So there was a time here at Ferris State, if we made the playoffs, it'd be the greatest celebration ever. And so when we first made the playoffs in 14, I felt blessed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, there's only there's 28 teams back then that made the playoffs. So 28 teams, I mean, you're kind of in late company, right? And now we're sitting here, with 10 straight playoff appearances. So we're not going to count it as a guarantee. I mean, we got to work to make sure we have a record that the resume is such that we make the playoffs. But we just got to keep on growing. I say that all the time, but 120 guys on our team. If every guy is just pursuing the best that's in them, all right, at the end of the day, you grow, just inch by inch for 120 guys, and your team becomes really good. But we got to have that kind of growth, and that's how we built our program. That's how Zach Sealer grew into a superstar, and Tyvier Thomas grew into a superstar, and Caleb Murphy, and that's why they're in the NFL. And that should be good motivation for all of our guys to continue to get better. I teased the media from Oxford, Mississippi last week when they called me, and I'm like, what do you think Trinidad Chambliss got better in 4 months being at Ole Miss or 4 years being at Ferris State? And where did all the growth happen, and I'm just teasing because he's doing, Ole Miss is doing great with him. But that's what our program is, what we hang our head on. Our program's a program that it's a developmental program. Our strength coaches do a great job, and our position coaches do a great job developing these guys into, great players over time.
Humble as always, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time out of the day to chit chat with me. get some rest, and we look forward to seeing the Bulldogs finish out the season and GLIAC play. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.